Hello, we would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to our video on Julius Caesar's reign over the Roman Empire. In today's lesson, we are going to go deeply into the life of Julius Caesar, one of the most well-known leaders in history, as well as his influence on the Roman Empire. Gaius Julius Caesar was a prominent politician and general in Roman history. Caesar was a member of the First Triumvirate, and he commanded the Roman troops during the Gallic Wars. After defeating his political rival Pompey in a civil war, Caesar went on to rule as dictator beginning in 49 BC and continuing until his death in 44 BC. On July 12, 100 BC, Gaius Julius Caesar was born into the genus Julia, a patrician family. The family claimed to have left Alba Longa for Rome in the 7th century BC after Tullus Hostilius, the third king of Rome, conquered and destroyed their city. The family also asserted ancestry from Julius, Aeneas' son and the creator of Alba Longa. The clan was divine because Aeneas was Venus' son. The assertion of this genealogy's derivation from Venus was fairly well known and presumably not of recent invention by the 1st century, even though it had not yet reached its full shape. As the procedure was usually fatal for the mother, yet Caesar's mother lived for decades after his birth, there is no proof that he was born via cesarean section. Additionally, no ancient texts mention any difficulties with the birth. Caesar spent his formative years during a turbulent period in Roman history, one that was marked by political upheaval and a proliferation of military conflicts. He lost his father when he was 16 years old, and as a result, he took over as the leader of the family. After that, he decided to pursue a legal education and started his career in politics as a prosecutor. Caesar's early years as a politician were spent as a member of the Populares, a political movement that advocated for the rights and privileges of the average citizen. This stood in stark contrast to the Optimates, who fought for the rights of the nobility and their interests. Caesar, Crassus, and Pompey established the First Triumvirate in the year 60 BC. This was an informal political partnership that dominated Roman politics for several years after its establishment. Their endeavors to acquire political power were thwarted by numerous members of the Senate, including Cato the Younger, who did so with the covert assistance of Cicero. Caesar rose through the ranks to become one of the most powerful politicians in the Roman Republic as a result of a string of military victories in the Gallic Wars, which were concluded by the year 51 BC and resulted in a significant expansion of Roman territory. Both the invasion of Britain and the construction of the bridge over the Rhine River took place during this time. These successes, along with the support of his veteran army, posed a challenge to Pompey's status, who had recently realigned himself with the Senate following Crassus's death in 53 BC. Caesar was given orders by the Senate to return to Rome and step aside from his position as commander of the Roman forces after the Gallic Wars were won. Caesar publicly defied the authority of the Senate in the year 49 BC by marching his army across the Rubicon River and towards Rome at the head of the charge. This resulted in the beginning of Caesar's civil war, which he eventually won, establishing him in a position of practically undisputed authority and influence in the year 45 BC. Caesar, after seizing control of the government, initiated a program of social and governmental changes, one of which was the implementation of the Julian calendar. A great number of people living in Roman Republic provinces on the periphery received citizenship as a result of his efforts. Land reform and assistance for veterans were both started by him. After consolidating the Republic's governance, he was ultimately named dictator for life. The steps he took that were both populist and dictatorial in nature upset the elites, and they began to plot against him. Caesar was stabbed to death on the Ides of March, the 15th of March, in the year 44 BC by a group of dissident senators commanded by Brutus and Cassius. These senators were responsible for Caesar's assassination. A new round of internecine clashes broke out, and the constitutional administration of the Republic was never completely re-established after it. After prevailing over his rivals in the final civil war of the Roman Republic, Caesar's great-nephew and adoptive heir Octavian, who would eventually be known as Augustus, ascended to the position of sole ruler of Rome. Octavian immediately set to work consolidating his authority and thus began the period of the Roman Empire. The Julian calendar was one of the most significant advancements that Caesar introduced during his reign. This calendar, which was based on the solar year and included a leap year once every 4 years, was more accurate than other calendars. The Julian calendar was in use throughout the entirety of the Roman Empire and has continued to see use in many different parts of the world for many decades. Caesar was responsible for a number of important reforms, one of which was the expansion of Roman citizenship. Citizenship was bestowed upon individuals hailing from a variety of locations within the empire, including Gaul, Spain, and Africa. This resulted in an increase in the amount of dedication that these people had for Rome, which contributed to the continued success of the empire. Caesar was renowned not only for his political achievements, but also for his spectacular military victories. He conquered what is now known as Gaul, which is modern-day France, and brought it under Roman power. In addition to this, he launched an offensive in Egypt and installed Cleopatra as the monarch of the land under her rule. Caesar's military campaigns were extremely successful, and as a result, he is considered by many to have been one of the most talented military commanders in Roman history. On the other hand, Caesar's rule was not without its share of scandal. A significant number of individuals held the view that he was a despotic ruler who undermined the democratic ideals of Rome. A conspiracy to assassinate Julius Caesar was hatched in the year 44 BC by a group of senators led by Marcus Brutus and Gaius Cassius. On the Ides of March, in the year 44 BC, Caesar was put to death. His demise marked the end of the Roman Republic and the beginning of the Roman Empire. He was the last emperor of the Roman Republic. Octavian, who would later be known as Augustus, was Caesar's adoptive son, who would go on to become the first emperor of Rome. In summary, the reign of Julius Caesar over the Roman Empire was an extremely important time in the annals of Roman history. Julius Caesar was a very influential leader who brought about substantial changes and amassed enormous military victories throughout his time in office. In addition to this, he was a contentious figure since many people held the view that he was a tyrant who was undermining the democratic principles upon which Rome was built. Nevertheless, there is little question that Caesar's influence is still being felt in the modern world, and not just in Rome, but in many other places throughout the globe as well. Julius Caesar's influence on Roman politics is considered to be one of the most significant aspects of his legacy. Before he came to power, Rome was governed as a republic, which meant that power was shared among a large number of elected officials. On the other hand, Caesar's rule is considered to represent the beginning of the Roman Empire because it was at this time that power was first centralized in the hands of a single ruler. The transition of Rome from a republic to an empire brought about significant changes for both Rome and the rest of the world. It made possible a greater degree of political stability and a system of governance that was more effective, both of which contributed to the growth and expansion of the Roman Empire. On the other hand, it resulted in the consolidation of power in the hands of a single leader, which might be seen as a boon or a curse, depending on the circumstances. The influence that Julius Caesar had on the Roman military is another important part of his legacy. Caesar was one of the most successful military commanders in the history of the world, and the territory and authority of Rome both increased as a direct result of his victories. In addition to this, he was a supporter of several types of military changes, such as alterations to the process by which soldiers were enlisted and trained. Because of Caesar's leadership, the Roman military improved both in terms of its professionalism and its operational effectiveness, which contributed to Rome's increased advantage over its rivals. This legacy survived long after Caesar's death, with the Roman military continuing to be a formidable opponent for many generations after Caesar's passing. The influence that Julius Caesar had on the development of Western culture is the final aspect of his legacy. Because of his life and actions, innumerable works of art, literature, and film have been created, and his name has become synonymous with power, ambition, and grandeur. Caesar, for instance, is portrayed as a tragic hero in Shakespeare's play Julius Caesar. In this play, Caesar is brought down by his own ambition in addition to the jealousy of others. The play is widely regarded as one of the most adored of all of Shakespeare's works, and it has been staged numerous times. In a similar vein, the renowned actor Marlon Brando plays Julius Caesar in the film Julius Caesar, which was released in 1953. Brando portrays Caesar as a charming and strong leader who, in the end, is betrayed by his closest friends. The movie was nominated for a number of Academy Awards and contributed to Caesar's rise in prominence within popular culture. In summary, the period of time known as the reign of Julius Caesar in the Roman Empire was one that saw huge amounts of progress and transformation. Caesar was a controversial figure who was viewed by many as a dictator despite his substantial political influence, which he exerted through the implementation of significant reforms and the achievement of tremendous military victories. However, there is no denying the impact that he had on Rome and the globe, and his legacy is still felt today in a variety of different ways. His legacy continues to be felt today. Hope you found the video informative and insightful. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.